Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be working on the Armour Body's fairing install. Now, if you're thinking about racing or you have a show bike, you want to get yourself a set of these Armour Body fairings. Their fitment is always on point, super great, perfect for the track, they'll survive a crash. So I've split up this video into two separate parts. One is going to be the tail section and the other one is going to be the actual body's install with the front tire hugger, the fork front wheel hugger. So without further ado, let's get straight into the install for the tail section. So your R3 might look something like this, taped up, ready for your local track day, but you want to prepare it for a race. So the Armour Body's fairings is probably one of your best options to get fairings installed. So we're going to do the tail section right here. And first we're going to take off the passenger seat and the rear seat cover. For this installation, to remove things, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 5mm Allen key. That's pretty much all you need. Just going to start disassembling the bike by removing the emblem, the covers. Underneath, I didn't get a shot before I did the install, but there's these screws here. They're just Phillips head button screws. You unscrew it and then you pull them out. So I'm doing that right there and getting out any other Phillips head button screws just out of the way so that way I don't have to keep going back and forth between tools. To remove the light, there's some more Allen screws, so just remove those and get out as many other little screws that we need. The previous owner installed a fender eliminator and he didn't do that great of a job putting in the wiring for that. So this is going to look a little bit different than your stock R3. So for the stock R3, all you need to do is just trace the cable for the tail light section and just unclip the actual lights. It's just a clip style, so you can easily remove them on and off. So I'm just doing that here right now, getting out the additional screws, the screws for the lock for the passenger seat, and taking out the cabling. Now for this side, I'm just going to remove the two screws that are holding in the actual seat. For whatever reason, I only had one screw installed, but there are two, trust me. And with the seat out of the way, we can have access to the rest of the screws and nuts that we need to take out. So again, more button style Phillips head screws. And to make this part a little bit easier, you can take off the side cover, the black side cover. There's only two Allen key bolts that you need to remove for that, but I'm just making it hard on myself and removing the bolt without having to do that. Once you have that out of the way, you'll be able to pull off the side cover. And here's the Allen bolt that I was talking about earlier, and on the inside is one final bolt just to remove the side cover or the tail. Now to remove the actual fender eliminator or the fender light, there's four nuts here that you just need to remove. This is a 10mm nut, if memory serves me correctly. Once you have all four of these nuts out, you should be able to pull out your tail light. And remember, just disconnect any wiring or anything that you have there associated with the fender eliminator or the tail light. So the fender eliminator is out, and at this point you should also be able to remove the tail light. Now we install the actual fairing itself. What you need to do to install it is just slide it into the tail section and line up the bolts where the holes are on the fairing. So getting in a little bit closer, we'll be able to see that the tabs on the fairing line up with the bolts, and that's where we're going to be drilling. I'm going to drill directly on while this is installed onto the bike. If you do that, just be careful. You don't want to poke all the way through to the other side of the fairing and mess that up, or any part of the bike. So I had forgotten to remove the lock. This is just another bolt and nut over here. Just remove those and that's out of the way. And I'm test fitting the install for the fairings to make sure everything is where it should be before I start to drill holes and try to install the fairing. You could actually do this off the bike. The Woodcraft Armour bodies, again, they line up pretty much spot on, so you don't even need to check fitment, but it's always a good idea to check fitment before you start drilling away anyways. And first I'm going to drill out the holes to hold the side part of the tail fairing. And I don't have a step bit. Woodcraft recommends a step drill bit. I don't have one, so I'm just going up one at a time from the drill bits that I have, and making sure that the hole is aligned. Once you start drilling in everything, it's kind of hard to undo what you did, so make sure that you're drilling into the middle of each hole so that way it's in a line for the rest of the fairing itself. Now for the second hole there, this requires a little tab, and you can actually get this tab screw bolt or tab screw section off of the tail section on your bike already. So you just remove those and install that straight onto the tail section for the fairing, and you'll be all set. Here we take out the Phillips head button screws that we had taken off from the seat fairing earlier, and we're going to reuse them here to be seated onto the seat section. This makes it easier so that way we don't have to put our own bolts and nuts, and uninstalling it will be a lot easier, so luckily we can still reuse these parts. And now we get the shot again underneath the seat. Remember to drill those holes in there and put in the button screws. These two parts here are where the tail lights, the signals, are going to be. I didn't bother drilling that because I didn't see it necessary. It was already firm and in place. And finally, we drill into the center of these two spots. This is going to be the bolt to secure the top part of the fairing onto the frame of the bike. So with everything tightened down, I put back on the seat, this time with 2 bolts, and then I test the seat cover. This is probably the best feature of the Woodcraft's fairings, is the ability to take off the seat cover without disassembling the whole seat. Some fairings don't have that. So if you wanted to get into the electronics of the bike or anything that you had stored away in the back seat section, that's perfect. And this is an optional step here. Woodcraft gives you a their own set of button screws to keep that part of the fairing in line with the lower part of the fairing, so that way it's not flapping around and vibrating. It'll keep it secure and together. So it's a really nice feature to have, but if you don't want it, you don't need to do this part. And now it's securely fastened. With everything all installed, check with yourself on the bike and make sure the fitment's great and what you need for being on the track. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part video series. If you want to check out what it takes to install the actual body fairing, I'll put the link up right here. Be sure to check out that video. The next episode for this video, we're going to be doing the engine case covers install and safety wire. So we're going to protect our engine in the event of a crash. So let's check out what options Woodcraft has for us. They've got some pretty cool products, so check out that video in the next episode. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.